Good afternoon, ladies and gents. It's the 25th of August, 2025, and just a quick discussion about two things. UK government, mass fatality tents. Some of you may have heard about. If not, you're going to hear about it now. And the other thing is the UK falling to bits. I'm going to put some of this sort of into perspective. It's going to be a very quick video, and I just want to quickly break down what's happening here, or what I believe is happening. I'm not totally comfortable with doing this video because yet again we find ourselves talking about the UK falling to bits, and this is all based around the mainstream and whatever's out there on the media platforms, and this channel shouldn't really be about that. I didn't want it to be about news, certainly not crap news that's being sort of flooded onto the UK platforms at the moment, but it's just important to just get it out of the way so we don't have to waste any more time on it sort of later on. I'm just going to throw up some slides. This is going to be a quick one, guys. So let's just start with what seems to be gripping the mainstream news and social media platforms at the moment. You're all going to know about this. If you haven't seen it, people are talking about it. I've mentioned it before, and we'll do so again. When we hear and see about the protests currently erupting across the UK at the moment regarding immigrants, hotels, Union Jacks flying from lampposts, and we could go as low as painting mini fucking roundabouts with, resembled St. George's flags. I'll talk about the 85% and the 15% crews in a lot of my videos. 85% sheep and 15% shepherds. And for anyone who doesn't really know what that means, let me just quickly explain. The UK government relies heavily on 85% or the 85% crew, the sheep, the followers, the yes sir, no sirs, the people, people that are currently sort of function, they're people that function well within the system. That's the UK system, that being the UK government system. Doing the 9 to 5, paying into the pot, 1 or 2 holidays a year if they're lucky, a beer with the lads every now and again, the odd sort of takeout with the family, and walking the fucking dog every day. Those people, it is those people that are starting to lose it. Standing outside hotels, flying the UK flags, and moaning about the immigrants supposedly running around our streets and raping all our women and children, or robbing our houses, stealing our cars, and selling drugs to our grandparents. Those people are members of the 85% crew, and the reason why they're all sort of getting the ump is because the government, they've lied on. The government, they've kind of lied on their lives. Basically what's happening, those people have relied heavily on the government for probably most of their lives, and they now feel that they're being let down by the very government that they feel or felt that they could rely on. And do you know what? Quite rightly so. If we're out sort of working and paying into the pot every month in the form of many different taxes, we're all being subjected to now, then the last thing we want to be doing is sat in the A&E in a hospital for 5 hours before getting seen, or sitting on a 6-year waiting list to receive much needed surgery or treatment. We want to be able to go to the shops and get a lot of shopping for the money that we've earned, like we used to. Afford sort of to save up, let's say a deposit for a new home, and comfortably move into it, have the opportunity to easily change jobs because of the multitude of opportunities and vacancies out there, be able to start our own business in a thriving UK economy, and many other things many can only now dream of due to the failing UK government. I've been speaking to some of the locals around here actually when I've been out walking the dogs. It's again, like I say, it's a topic of conversation, and they're all having the same conversation, talking about everything I've just mentioned and more. They all seem, lost, some of them in the thick fog of this UK bullshit. They seem to be just wandering around the streets with blinkers on, and none of them, none of them, to be fair, based on the conversations that I have with them, none of them are looking at the bigger picture. So that's what we're going to do sort of in this quick session. So the first question you have to be asking yourself is this: why is the country in the eyes of the public domain? That's me and you. Why is it falling to bits? And why does it seem that every single word that comes out of the government's mouths is a total pile of shit? Firstly, I'm not a member of that 85% crew. I'm not a sheep. I've never voted because all governments, parties, they work for the same people. They're just wearing different masks. They all talk BS. They lie, and none of them can be trusted. So, in my view, you'd have to be a complete muppet to go running off to the polling stations and putting any ticks into any boxes and casting any votes. Only hypocrites do that sort of thing, and of course the sheep. So I'm not saying that anyone who goes voting is a sheep. I'm just saying that there's plenty of people going out there voting, and then they'll, a few months later, be stood there moaning about the very people that they voted in. The UK government have and continue to orchestrate the movement of immigrants into the country. They are controlling the small boat narrative with the French and other countries across Europe. They're letting many of them sort of come through with a visa route. Remember, guys, it's not just the small boats routes that they're coming in. There's the visa route as well, just letting them claim asylum. And believe it or not, they're in the process and have been for months, bringing thousands in from Afghanistan on military planes into military bases at night. Those are some of the 18,000 Afghans that were failed by the West during that war, who worked on behalf of the US and UK at the time. And then the UK, US just kind of left, pulling their forces out abruptly, and then just leaving those people behind. They now feel responsible, and they're bringing them in on planes, and that's it. They're going through the system. We have lost many thousands of EU and non-EU people following Brexit and the pandemic, who have all been, well, they've not, they haven't yet. I don't know what the number is at the moment, but they have to be replaced. And we have nearly 10 million. I'm not going to say all of them. There's plenty of lazy British people out there not working. They're claiming benefits and just taken out of the pot instead of putting anything in, which is now unsustainable for the government's sort of system to function properly. Once everybody realizes and accepts the fact that you and me, we're just a commodity to the government, then everything becomes a lot clearer. So as soon as you actually accept that, guys, then you will see this whole big picture so much clearer. And as many of you will know the nature of this channel, the big elephant in the room, that those those that are flying their flags and painting roundabouts don't actually see, and that is the war that's unfolding on our doorsteps. You will better understand why the government seem to be failing at the moment. And I'm just going to explain to you. Like I say, this is going to be a short video, so I'm going to get this done quite quickly. Ladies and gents, the government isn't failing. What they're doing is keeping the engine running by replenishing the workforce. That being the immigrants flooding into the UK at the moment. But more importantly, the UK and Europe is on a war footing. Our government is preparing the war machine, if that's what you want to class it as, which of course costs billions of pounds. And right now, they're keeping, that side of the story very quiet at the moment. So they're not telling anybody about this. That brings me on to the things that they're not keeping so quiet. And guys, you need to take note of this. Your UK government, if you're living in the UK, is reintroducing what they call the Civil Defence Corps, last seen in World War II. For anyone who doesn't know what that is, I've done a video on it, but it's basically, back then during World War II, there were 1.5 to 2 million volunteers who done sort of numerous jobs, and they took on many responsibilities, in supporting the country basically during the wartime. There could be administrators, auxiliary fire support, so putting out fires. These are volunteers. Anyone who specialises in communications or data analysts, logistics, first aid, any kind of training in a given field. What else is there? Search and rescue, legal, intelligence, catering, a chaplaincy, engineering, and the list goes on. So when a country is at war, it is the whole country that is at war, guys, not just the armed forces and the military. They're introducing the new Home Guard against well, it's not against anyone, but it will work alongside the Civil Defence Corps. Basically, what it is, it's like a higher level of civil defence. Those guys were last seen during World War II again. But one of the points I wanted to raise, which seems to be the recent news, is a small piece of let's talk about basically what it is. I don't know if you've seen this, guys. If you haven't, you might do. It's a recent government contract, a contract the government put out there for tender a couple of weeks ago. It's a contract worth between 1 to 2 million at the moment, which is a relatively small in comparison to the amount of money they waste, or taxpayers' money they waste on other shit. And it is to supply or replace what they call mass fatality tents. Now, the government and other outlets will be telling you that this contract is part of routine planning from the government in order to ensure that it's prepared, or it's sort of being seen to being prepared for any kind of unexpected event which leaves hundreds of people dead. It replaces a similar system which has been in place for the last 20 years. So just a just a bit of short history on this. The original request of this, and it's not really history, but the original request for this service in providing mass fatality provisions was back in 2005 to 2006. So we're only talking about 20 years. If anyone if anyone's lost at this point, let me just quickly explain. These mass fatality tents or temporary storage facilities they're part of a government initiative to provide a mass fatality resilient storage framework. The configuration of such a framework, it comes in three flavors. Let me just see if I've got them on the screen. Yeah, you have. I'm not going to read through all that. I'm just going to tell you what it is. So you have what they call a soft shell. Is portable temporary body storage, which will be able to cater for up to 100 fatalities, and it can be deployed within 24 hours. Then there is the hard shell, similar to soft shell, only this storage is more robust. It has the ability to withstand all weather conditions, so may require sort of hard standing. And it should provide storage for up to 150 of the deceased. This is mad when you read this. Anyway, and finally, there is the temporary building tier, which is an alternative building kind of structure, similar to the Nightingale hospitals seen during the COVID-19 pandemic. If any of you remember of them, they were pop-up hospitals. They should allow sort of both refrigeration and freezing, with a core requirement to store at least 450 fatalities. And they should be able to be deployed within 5 days. Okay, that's what we're talking about here. So now the mainstream are telling us that this is normal. It's a framework they've been sort of, or they've had around since 2005, and they're merely just refreshing the capability. And honestly, during normal climates, this would be fine. But these aren't normal climates, which is clear. Because since 2005, I don't know about you guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've never heard this government contract sort of tender hit in the news, as there's never really been a reason for it. Even during the pandemic, all we heard about along similar lines was the building of did they build 7 Nightingale hospitals, which were hardly used, and that actually cost the taxpayer 534 million. So they're being used for other things now. What's different with this is, for some reason, it's managed to make its way onto various platforms. And for me, this is the government continuing to drip feed the masses with just little pieces of information, only to be suppressed in the attempt to stop any panic. So personally, I'd be very concerned about this. Well, not concerned, but just take note, because the timing of this is important. You know, That's what I would take away from this. The UK government have been sort of drip feeding us, let's say for the last 2 years at least. I've done videos on not the drip feeding, but I've mentioned the bits of information that they've been giving us. Sowing the seeds for a later date. So we had Rishi Sunak telling the nation last year that the UK was on the war footing. There was a short and brief mention of national service being reintroduced, and the general of the British Armed Forces, along with other NATO members, he was telling, or he made an announcement that we've got 3 years to prepare for war against Russia. Okay, that's drip feeding. People have forgotten about all that because, well, they probably weren't interested in the first place. And not only that, guys, these tents or temporary structures are designed to store hundreds of bodies whilst funerals and burials are arranged, or investigations and tests are carried out on the bodies. We have never in the history of the last 70 to 80 years had a requirement for mass fatality storage facilities. Even during the pandemic, guys, where 227,000 people died, and on the 19th of January 2021, which I think was the largest loss in a single day of 1,490 people were registered dead in one day in the UK. That is, guys. No sort of mass fatality tents then, but there seems to be a requirement for them now. I also would have expected the UK government to have had this framework updated, at least during the pandemic, for obvious reasons, where now it seems that the contract needs to be refreshed. It's just not it's not the contract. In essence, guys, it's the timing. Okay, it is a contract that's out there, but it's just the timing and why has it found its way onto the public domain? And you know, I think it's that we just need to take notice of. So anyway, that was that piece of news. The other one that you might be more interested in, immigrants and hotels and stuff like that. I'm going to switch back to the main topic of conversation. Is it the main topic? It doesn't matter. They're both as important as each other, or not. The conversation out there for many at the moment is the immigrants, immigration, and hotels. The government are orchestrating the movement of illegal immigrants into the UK. That's my belief. They're sort of put into hotels for 1 to 3 years to be processed and prepared. When I say prepared, guys, I mean educated in the British way, the language, and educated in various fields to support their integration into society. They are a commodity. We're all a commodity, but they're definitely a commodity at the moment. It is a process, and this is a system at work. Guys, if you're any of these people that are protesting outside these hotels, you just need to bear this in mind. UK government, I'm actually gonna give them credit, and I'll tell you for why. They are blatantly shipping in illegal immigrants into the country for all of us to see. They're finding the sort of working able people in different countries. They're moving them through Europe into European countries. The UK government are picking them up on the shores or the French beaches. They're taking their passports off of them in exchange for a mobile phone, and they're being brought into this country in boats and other means, as I said. So I've seen videos, guys, where the French Navy and the Coast Guard are escorting these small boats 12.5 miles into the English Channel, where they're met by the UK Royal Navy and Coast Guard, who then escort them the second 12.5 miles of their journey to the British shoreline. It's a transaction of human beings, guys. That's it. That's it. There's video footage out there of that. Moving on to this one, which is, anyway, guys, there's nothing wrong with being patriotic. I served for this country, and I was in the armed forces. I didn't serve, but I couldn't be any more patriotic. But just a quick one on these Union Jacks and painting roundabouts and stuff like that. Why wasn't immigrants in these hotels a problem? Like, this is a question, guys, right? This is what I'm trying to sort of get my head around. Why wasn't the immigrants in the hotels at the moment a problem 2, 3, or even 4 years ago? Why now? The real reason why this is happening now is because the government are taking too much money out of the pot now for funding the war machine. And quite frankly, the UK government need to put their commodity, yep, humans, into houses. And what better way of doing it? let's get the people of Britain protesting outside, a couple of hotels, forcing the hand and introducing this bullshit reason of planning permission in the High Court so that they have no choice but to start putting the immigrants into proper housings. You know, all these houses that our sort of children are still trying to get deposits for or get to sort of deposits together for, the houses that many others in the UK um they've been waiting for while sat on these everlasting sort of waiting lists. And do you know what makes this even worse, guys? The government blame you and I. Yeah, it will be our fault because we, or the protesters, force them out of the hotels, and the governments have no choice now but to put them in houses. Perfect. That's perfect for the government because that's another piece of the puzzle resolved, or part of the system, the integration. It's the process. That's the business. You're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. Many of those immigrants will be moving into homes, flats, and houses in your area. And hotels will then probably go back to business if, in fact, there is any business for them to start, reigniting. Then, what are the people going to be doing? Are they going to stand outside the immigrants' houses and start protesting there instead? The government and media are going to say, well, you lot wanted them all out of the hotels and now you're still moaning. It's a lose-lose situation, guys, for the British people. And the government know that. I'll go back to the very beginning of what I just said. The government aren't there to be your friend. They have a business to run. And right now, the numbers aren't working and they aren't sustainable. Too many people now on benefits, millions of people now with mental health issues that can never be challenged in court. And with that, there were millions more freeloading the system as they navigate, through a system and economy that is just failing. With less and less job opportunities every week being orchestrated by the government who is preparing for war. That is the reality of what's happening, guys. And that is why we're going to see civil unrest. That's what seems to be that's what seems to be being created. I'm still trying to get my head around why the government want to create this because it's going to cause them a headache. But anyway, they seem to be, it's civil unrest, not just for this country. This is going to be countries across the world. America are starting to get the same. There's European countries are starting to get the same. So I'm just wondering whether they're just getting us ramped up and fired up, ready for when they announce that we're all going to war. Right, that's enough of that rant. Sorry about that, guys. I just wanted to get that off my chest and out there. I don't want to talk about it anymore. It's be patriotic and wave your flags and get outside and do your whatever you got to do, even if you've got to paint, paint some roundabouts. Do what you've got to do. But we need to, we need to look at the bigger picture, guys. There's forget about all this stuff that you're seeing on social media and stuff like that. There's a much bigger problem coming our way. That's it, guys. I'm going to leave that here. I've got another video coming later. It's a long-awaited one. It's food dehydration. It should be beneficial video for anyone who's looking at going down the route of dehydrating meals, for your food preps. I've spent a few weeks creating the meal menu, and I just want to share that with you guys because I think the process and the menu sort of breakdown could be really helpful for you. That's it. Over and out. I'll catch up with you soon.